Welcome to Multifamily X podcast series, Masters of Multifamily Maintenance Conversations. Ready to engage in essential dialogues exploring the multifamily universe alongside top industry leaders? Join us as we explore fundamental conversations for the multifamily space. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Multifamily X podcasts, Masters of Maintenance. Today we have two premieres. First of all, I want to welcome Joseph Knack as co-host of mine. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Thank you, Adrian. It's an honor to be here and excited to have the other premier guest alongside me.
And next, I want to introduce our guest for today, which is Mike Mulloy. Mike is Vice President of Facilities Management with NRP. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to kick off the podcast today by asking Mike, please walk us through your background in property management.
I probably have more of a less traditional path than, I've listened to your show before and listened to some of your other guests who, started as a groundskeeper and were promoted up through the ranks. And, my path is a little bit different. First I should start that my background in, I was exposed to the trades, as a young kid. My father owned a plumbing company as I was, as a child. And so I was exposed to, the trade work from a young age. And so as I was always going to work with my dad, on weekends and, over summer break. And through college, I worked for his company. So developed an understanding of working with my hands and working with plumbing and mechanical. So developed those skills throughout my life. But I went to college never really understanding the property management industry. After college, my first job was working in real estate brokerage. I've always worked in real estate in some capacity, but I've had a number of different roles, and they've all been very valuable and taught me. They've helped shape who I am, and the skills and experience that I use today, I've developed along that path. So first, I worked in real estate brokerage, so selling, leasing, both residential and commercial property. That was, I think, very valuable because that started as a commission-based role. So it helped develop. You kill what you eat, essentially, right? So it really taught me how to be, to work through adversity, to be persistent, and you really have to develop a sense of customer service as well, to be very resourceful, and to really, the harder you work, the more experience, the more persistent you are, eventually it pays off and the phone rings more and you get more business. That was very valuable lesson that I had in my first role in real estate. After that, I actually went to work for a bank managing their portfolio of properties they own. So I worked largely with contractors and real estate brokers as we sold off or managed their portfolio of real estate. And that was, I really understood more, it helped me develop a lot of the financial aspect of it and the holding costs and more financial operations side of it. I learned what I didn't like about that too, and it was really more of a desk job. So what I really like is kind of the act of being out in the field and visiting properties and working with the people who work at the properties and maintain the properties, and then also, managing them and ensuring that they perform. So that's really how I became interested in kind of the property management side. I left the bank. I was working at this bank. It was a well-paying job, but I was miserable. And I was newly married. I had a new father. My first child had just been born, and I had taken a week off, and I went back to work, and I came home. I told my wife, I'm not in this. Thankfully, she supported me, and I left that job. Really started. I had a lot of contact in the real estate business, and so I started a contracting business that serviced those properties. So I went back to banks that, to the loan servicers, and I went back to banks who owned properties. And I approached them and said, hey, I want to take care of the properties that you own and be the contractor to service those. That was that was a great experience, really, both on the contracting side and understanding really develop skills on how we maintain properties, but, also being a business owner and managing employees. And that was a great experience. But that's really demanding in terms of owning a business and managing a business, being a new father. So, I eventually had an opportunity with a local or a regional property management company here in Cleveland, Ohio, I went to work for this company, and I had really developed this interest in property management and multi real estate, but it was a difficult business to break into. So I found this company, and I went to work for them as a director of maintenance. And I think I had 14 properties that I was essentially responsible for, but very much involved in I was still involved in working at those properties, so still turning the wrenches. It wasn't exactly like a regional maintenance position. It was very much involved in the day-to-day operations at those sites, but it was a large portfolio, so it wasn't like I was working on one property. So that was a regional type property or company. All those properties were in the Cleveland, Ohio area. But that was a tough career decision because I knew that there was an opportunity that would grow into something more. But at the time, it was a pretty significant pay. I'm glad that I had the foresight to say, hey, this could be something better. But it was a tough decision to kind of take a step back. And I think we can talk about that more. But sometimes you gotta look for the right opportunity. You can't be focused on what the title is today, what the pay is today. And you have to recognize, hey, this is an opportunity, and I have to go and learn, and I have to put in time, and with the idea knowing that this will grow into something better. I was with that company for a couple of years and gained some really valuable experience. And then I saw actually a position with the NRP group. It was a site level position, it was like a maintenance tech or something like that. And I applied for it, knowing that, again, it would probably be a pay cut, but it was a bigger company with more opportunity. That was a national company. And at the time, NRP group we've since have experienced very significant growth, but they were really making a splash in terms of growing their portfolio. So I applied for this tech position, and my resume ended up on this gentleman's desk, who at the time was like a regional vice president. Today, he's the president of the property management company, and I knew him outside of work, and so he recognized my name. He called me. He was like, "Hey, listen, I'd love to hire you. I don't think this position is right for you. I think you're overqualified for this position, but stay tuned. I'd love to stay in touch." And we stayed in touch for 10 months or a year. I followed up with him regularly. And eventually, the regional maintenance manager position became available. Hired for that. I've been with this company for 9 years. And, I think after a year or two, I was promoted to the vice president of facilities, and I've been in that role since. And that has been my background. So it's not like I started at the ground level, working my way up. I kind of had a roundabout way, but different path.
That is impressive and quite the persevering path, to be honest. Congratulations. And it seems like there's no clear linear path when it comes to multifamily maintenance profession. So what's your take on career pathing in the multifamily maintenance industry, and how can organizations define and nurture career progression for their teams to retain great talent that they've invested into?
I think career pathing is necessary. And I think, my thought, we were talking about this often, really defining what it is and setting clear expectations on what your role is today, and chart each of those different roles, and what those opportunities are, and what that role involves, so that it's clear to the associates. They know what's ahead of them and what they need to be doing to be ready. Because I think that there's first of all, I think that there's a lot of people who say, "Hey, listen, I've been here the longest. I should be the guy who's next in line for the promotion. And that's not necessarily true. And you have to be clear. You have to be clear to them on why, right? And that doesn't need to be such a difficult conversation. It should be a clear and honest conversation and say, hey, listen, here's what we look for in that position. Are you doing those things? Like, here's what's expected in your position. And we have created these job profiles for every role within the maintenance department, starting with a porter or groundskeeper all the way up to regional maintenance manager or director of facilities, and outlining exactly, what's involved in that job role. And not only the job description, but in more detail, here's what you should be doing. So when you're talking with associates and giving that feedback, say, okay, here's where you are today. Are you doing all of these things? Are you executing all of these things? And it gives them kind of like the litmus test for them to look at and be like, hey, let me be honest with myself. Am I doing all these things? And if I'm not, well, then maybe I'm not ready to go to the next level. And it gives them an opportunity to kind of dig in and develop those skills. And if you're in a role, say you're in a tech position, you desire to be a maintenance supervisor, you can look ahead and say, okay, what are the things the maintenance supervisors need to do? And there's an opportunity for me to develop those skills. And it just gives, it creates a clear path for them to see, and it just makes that, it makes it more attainable, and it's a clearer picture of what's necessary. So then, when you post a position and someone says, hey, I'd like to apply, and they may be a very good tech or supervisor, whatever role they're in now, it makes that conversation easier on why they're not the right candidate for that promotion at that time. You can say, okay, here's what we need. Here's where you are today. Let's get you there. I think career pathing is very, very, very important, especially today where we focus on retaining. I mean, retaining the people we have is so important to every organization. And how you do this, very important ways to retain those associates and develop them, continue to develop them to the next level.
Speaking of an unconventional career path, Mike, right? Going from the banking industry, coming into multifamily, not following, I guess, the one that, most of us in a executive, where previously myself in executive role have followed, right? Starting from the bottom, working our way up. But I'm sure that this unique experience that you had, and each one of our experiences are unique in different ways. What are the best lessons that you have learned that you would like to share with others that are looking up to you and are saying, one day I want to be like Mike. I want to become a VP of facilities. What are some great lessons that you've learned throughout your career along the way in multifamily that you'd like to share with us?
Being honest and recognizing that, I don't know everything. And no matter what your role is or your title is, there's always an opportunity to learn and be open to learning. If you spent your entire career starting at the groundskeeper level and you've worked for all these years at a property, you've developed a ton of skills that I don't have, right? So I don't pretend to know as much from a technical aspect as everybody else. But there's things that I know that others don't. So I know that. So I'm open. And I don't pretend to know everything. I approach my role as I'm always learning. I can learn something from a maintenance tech, maintenance supervisor, and they can learn something from me. And, I think I've come across a lot of people in this industry where it's almost like they're too proud to recognize that they have something to learn. There's a lot of people hey, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know I've seen it all. And they don't want to, I don't know if it's a threat or if they're proud or whatever that's holding them back. They don't want to admit that they've got something to learn, right? And I think that the most important thing is that we're perpetually, we're perpetual learners. There's always something more to learn and see something through a different lens. So, the founder and CEO of our company says that all the time. That's how I approach it, and that's my biggest piece of advice is to always be, open to learn something new. If I go to a property, I may call someone, if I go to Austin, Texas, I may call someone from another property and say, hey, listen, maintenance supervisor, for example. I'll say, hey, listen, I'm going to be in town and I'm going to go walk the property. Why don't you come with me? Maybe take them off of their property and just take them somewhere else. So get them out of the normal environment and say, come walk the property with me and look at things the way I see them. So let's talk about it. But at the same time, I'm asking him questions like, hey, what do you think of this? And get their feedback. I would come away from that getting perspective and like realizing things that don't occur to me, right? So realizing challenges or different ways to approach things. It's a learning experience for both of us. And I think that is the most valuable piece of advice that I can share is like, you've got to be open to learning and willing to extend yourself, ask questions, listen. It works for me. And I think it's a valuable piece of advice. It's how I've kind of learned in this role.
Impressive. That is a developed way of thinking, I believe, is always be learning, and someone could always teach us something in every interaction that we have today. It's kind of like a mentor-mentee type of situation. Is that big for your organization and for you personally?
Absolutely. Again, we talk about mentors and mentees all the time, and I think I refer to our CEO and founder a lot, and he talks about that often. And he's been a mentor to me. But I think one piece that he says that I think is really important when you talk about that is it doesn't have to be this real formal relationship or formal arrangement where you say, hey, will you be my mentor? Or you my mentor? I'm the mentee. I think it's a two-way street all the time, right? So if you approach it that way, because my title is vice president, I could be mentored by a maintenance supervisor, right? I mean, I'm still learning from them. They're learning from me. It is a mentor-mentee relationship, but it doesn't have to be defined as that, right? So like we're both learning from each other. Going back in my career, like there was a lot of people that mentored me that we didn't call it a mentor-mentee relationship. At that point in my life, when I was working at the bank and I knew that I wanted something different, but I didn't know where to go. And I was like, what do I want to do? How do I get there? I reached out or through other connections. I met a million different people for coffee, and I would just go talk to them. And they're like, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I'm like, I don't know right now, but like it just helped me to talk to them and just get different perspectives on things. And I would talk to them and tell them what was interesting to me, what I didn't like about my current job, and they would maybe, if anything, they would just connect me with someone else. And there was a bunch of those different interactions, which now looking back, they were mentoring me, right? Like I didn't know it then. I didn't come away with it saying, oh my gosh, this guy really helped me. Those types of interactions, like they happen every day. It doesn't need to be defined as a mentor. Hey, this is my mentor, but you have to be open and kind of put yourself out there. I didn't even have anything that I was asking for direction on stuff, but I was willing to just go talk to somebody. And there were so many people. I mean, I don't know how I got some of these meetings, but people that were in pretty significant, important roles that met me for coffee, and they were just helpful. It didn't lead, not one of them led to a job, like a new job, but it helped me understand kind of where I wanted to go. And when it got time to like, hey, I have to take a pay cut to take this job, those types of conversations helped me, give me like the confidence to feel good that I was making the right decision. Mentoring it happens all the time. You might not even know it. It's so important in career growth.
And now a word from Sean Landsberg, co-founder, AppWork.
Tell me a little bit about data integrity. How does AppWork rank in data integrity? We all know that what you put in comes out, right? So if the information that you put in is not accurate, is not representing the reality, whatever comes out as data is really not accurate. So how do you fare in data integrity?
It's not just about the information that you put in. The information that comes out is only as good as the information that you put in, but it's also the fact that someone actually has to manually input a lot of that data. So for us, there's two things. Number one is, just about all the data that we're collecting, it happens through the normal course of using our product. Right. So no one's actually going in and manually adding information that we're then using in reporting, analytics, or anything like that. So all the data that we're presenting is actually not done manually. So takes out just one less thing that people have to do. It makes using the product a lot easier. But it also removes that whole component where people can influence the data. So everything, even take something as simple as, a technician's callback. That's a metric that comes directly from the residents, where there's no way anybody, especially the technician, can influence that. Same thing with the ratings.
Mike, we touched on career paths previously. I'd like to go over a very hot topic, and this is a topic that I think we will be discussing for the remaining of our careers, and this is labor shortages in maintenance, in multifamily maintenance. How do we as an industry alleviate this pain? How do we overcome this challenge or part of it? How do we make things better? And then if you have some specifics of, things that you are implementing, you're doing at NRP, I would like for you to share that with the audience.
It's one of the biggest challenges facing our industry. I think a lot of people are like, oh, there's a quick fix. It's going to take a long time. And it's not like you solve it. I think you work through it. And, I think there's a lot of things that need to happen to really resolve it. But first and foremost, I think the biggest thing that we can do today is make sure that we treat our current associates well, right? And when I say that, it's not just pay them more than someone else pay them, but like really treat them well. And, we talked about career paths. What that involves is allowing a work-life balance, showing them what opportunity exists within our organization and the industry, providing them training and the opportunity to grow, showing recognition and appreciation for them. So number one is, I think, first, take care of the people we have rather than how do we go get the people that we don't have. I think first priority is take people that elected to work for your organization, right? So that's how because we have this industry and there's a shortage of the people who can do this job. And if all they do is just hop around from company to company, that doesn't help us solve the problem. And we're all just competing for these people. So I think that one, if we can help people stay put and really grow, then that's a key piece to solving this problem. Secondly, I think, we need to get new blood into the industry, right? So people need to understand that you can make a really good living in this business. I was of the age where I grew up, like I said, my father owned a plumbing business. I was growing up everybody just goes to college so that they can get a real, a really real job. And I mean, there was a stigma to going to work right out of school to work in trades or work in a business like this that I think is kind of going away. I think there's more people that are open to the opportunity but you don't have to sit behind a desk. There is a lot of opportunity in this business to be happy, to have work-life balance, to make good money. And I think that we need, as an industry, we need to continue to promote that and get in front of those, get in front of people today that are in high school and college or community college or whatever, and let them know what opportunities exist. There's career fairs all the time at colleges from corporate jobs, and everybody's just going around saying, hey, where can I go work? And those exist today too for property management, but I think that is a major opportunity for us to get in front of young people, say, hey, there's a really good career out there that's available. And when they make that decision to enter this business, obviously training them and preparing them is important, but those are the things that we're trying to do now, that we're talking about now. As we retain people, we have to be able to show a clear course to promotion. That's how you solve it, I think. I mean, I know that's kind of vague, but my focus is within our organization is to really take care of the people we have and focus on developing our associates. I think that there's a lot of, there's companies out there that just, hey, okay, we just have to pay more to get people. We have to attract others. We have to, poach people away from other companies. And that's a race I don't want to run because it's just a temporary solution. And all we do is just keep paying people more for the same job. And I think that people would be more committed to your organization if you take the guy who's, a quarter today or a tech today and really develop him, invest in as much in him as he's investing in you. There's a more committed relationship. It's just a better solution to the problem. That's where my focus is. But at the same time, we have jobs that we're trying to fill, and you have to play both sides. But I think the true solution, how we overcome it as an industry, we have to recruit people at a young age to enter the business, and we have to develop them from the ground up.
It's a big problem, actually. And one of the reasons how Adrian and I connected was I have this crazy idea to support this big problem on a small scale. And there'll be more to that later to come in future podcasts. My question to you is, we know maintenance is not a sexy industry, but the maintenance technicians on site, they are the unsung heroes of the properties that they work at. So what tactics or strategies do you think we could use to attract new generations to just get exposed to multifamily? Because like you said, there's so many opportunities that you could take within multifamily that getting exposed to it is the first step.
First of all, I think what Adrian is doing here with this podcast is great, right? Because that's where I think younger people are seeing these things and seeing this type of business promoted, and they can sit and listen to people talk about it. It's one thing to promote it through the apartment associations and all that, but to hear honest conversations of people who live and work in this industry and how they've been successful is, I think, impactful. I would pay attention to it as a young person. I pay attention to it now. I watch podcasts and I try and learn from people. So I think that is a way to continue to do this type of stuff. Also, again, going back to that mentor-mentee relationship. I mean, think about people, I've got friends and family who are in college or going to college. And I know when I was going to college, I didn't even know property management was an industry. A lot of them don't either. And so they're like, so what do you do? Obviously, multifamily, there is a huge growth across the country. I mean, there's more and more apartment starts, in the last few years than there ever was. Their friends, when they graduate college, they're moving into apartments. And, so I think there's more awareness of how big this industry is. That is becoming more aware. Those types of things naturally or organically happen. But what I think is another opportunity is really going, I've tried to partner with trade schools and stuff like that, but almost even reaching them earlier, because a lot of the kids that are in trade schools are people who went to college, figured out it wasn't for them, and then ended up in a trade school. And I think that, you could reach people that are in high school and just say, hey, this is an opportunity. I remember they used to come in and try and recruit for the military in high school, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Like, hey, here's another opportunity. Maybe your path is different. Maybe you're not interested in college. Here's another opportunity or another option. If you care about it, you promote it. That's how I approach it.
Love it.
Mike, one hot topic, one hot word in multifamily, and specifically multifamily maintenance, right? It's centralization. I want to talk about the pros and cons of centralization, and I want to ask you, point blank, do you think that this is a real thing, or is just a buzzword when it comes to multifamily maintenance?
Me personally, I think it's more of a buzzword. We've been talking about the idea of centralization for a long time, and that's what the way I interpret it is, creating efficiencies within your operation. I think the way that it's being referred to today is we are going to centralize it. We're going to try and create efficiencies. So if we've got 3 properties that would be staffed with 4 maintenance guys each, there's 12 guys. We centralize it. Somehow we're going to reduce that to 10 people because we can be more efficient, right? So yes, in theory, that would be great, but does that really work? And I can't see in any way, despite all of the technology and innovation that we are seeing, how you can reduce maintenance. I haven't seen a way where you can reduce the head count of maintenance associates. In most cases, I think we need more, right? We always use that 1 body per 100 units. And I think that is an obsolete way of looking at it. The unit sizes have gotten bigger. The unit counts have gotten bigger. The unit sizes, the number of beds have gotten bigger. household sizes have gotten larger. So if your conversation is, oh, we're going to centralize it, be more efficient, and in that way we don't have to have as many employees, that's nonsense. I don't believe that at all. I think that it's become a hot topic because the number of deals needs to continue, right? So new deals that are underwritten, and that's because of the current economic times, that has become a little bit more difficult. So people say, hey, listen, we can centralize our maintenance operation and we can maybe reduce payroll by X, and therefore it's going to cost less. So that deal all of a sudden pencils and becomes, can be underwritten when it couldn't before. And I think they're just lying to themselves, right? I think it's just a way for them to justify trying to make a deal work. And if I'm being honest, I don't see how centralization really works from a maintenance perspective. Now, I do agree that there's ways to be more efficient. You can centralize. I mean, you can create efficiencies, but at the end of the day, those properties still need those maintenance associates, and I don't see it as a way of reducing headcount.
Do you think it's too early to tell if it'll actually work? Because it's only been, a couple of years now that it's been thrown around. Technology solutions have come to help out with that particular strategy.
Again, I'm always learning. I haven't seen it yet, so maybe you guys, maybe you have more information. But the way that when I look at our portfolio, when I look at, and believe me, we've got a huge concentration of properties. If it's going to work anywhere, it would work there. I find more success when someone has a sense of ownership to their property. So if you're saying, okay, we're going to centralize it, and you're going to not be responsible for these different places, and I just think that you lose touch and lose accountability, and there's so many factors that can disrupt the ability to centralize. So in theory, if everything works as it should, it's great. We know in multifamily that doesn't happen. So when I think of centralization of maintenance, I'm thinking of the efficiency of shrinking the number of associates to cover more, or we're going to centralize maintenance out of this location, cover this area, and spread it out. And that I haven't seen how it be successful. So maybe it is too soon.
Mike, you did mention a different, I guess, your definition of centralization, and it's around efficiencies, right? So I do want to bring a couple of ways in which some companies, right, that I'm in contact with, that I know of, have been working towards increased efficiency. One of the ways in which they do it is by implementing keyless locks. So it eliminates this back and forth to and from the office, and it just removes the clutter from the office of like a long line of vendors waiting for a key or waiting to return their key to get their IDs back. So this is what that does, and obviously that translates into putting time into the technician's day. And another way of in which I guess things could be made more efficient is by installing like very reliable leak sensors throughout the property at all the water sources to notify management when the smallest leak happens before it becomes a flood, before it turns into mold. Are you aware of those solutions out there in the marketplace, and what is your company doing along those lines, like specific to those solutions, or maybe something similar to those solutions that you like to share with us?
Sure. We have utilized keyless locks for sure at several properties. Mixed reviews, some love them, some they depending on what version you have or which product you have, some perform better than others. I mean, I think keyless locks is a good thing, right? I mean, I definitely recognize the saving in time and efficiency it creates in terms of access for vendors. There's other challenges it creates. Batteries go dead or software needs updated or something, but at the end of the day, I'm a fan of it. One thing I should say about NRP is we have two different product types that we've developed. We have our high-end market rate luxury product, and then we develop a lot of LIHTC properties, so tax credit properties. And we have electronic locks at both. We've done different products at both product types. So it's not like, only one property gets electronic locks and the other doesn't. So we utilize it. It's something that we really have gone more to in recent years. In terms of the leak sensors, I think those are super valuable. It just comes to a point where cost becomes a barrier of entry to that. Our company, we develop, build, and manage all of our products. So we are not like a third-party developer. We're a third-party manager. We are vertically integrated, develop, build, manage our own stuff. We own all of our products. When I go and I look at, hey, yeah, I love this, it would make my job as a manager much easier. But there is a cost-benefit analysis. And, if I'm looking up in our P group, I have to look and see, like, hey, yeah, but that really drives up the cost of construction, right? So development. So like, there's a lot of things that I want and that I look at would make our property manager's job easier or better, save them time. But does it make sense looking at the whole picture? And that is kind of that's been the problem with some of those automatic leak sensors. Does it pay off? That's something that I'd like to see develop more. I'm hopeful that we can get that price down a little bit to a better price point. I'd certainly be open to that. I mean, I think there's an opportunity there for sure. And it's not even the massive flood that it's going to prevent. It's going to be that toilet just runs. That cost adds up way more than that one massive flood that you have. So if I could get those leak sensors that sense the flow of water that's unusual or constant and shuts off that fixture or shuts off the water supply, that would be really helpful. But right now, it boils down to cost.
Mike, in terms of prop tech that's being designed for maintenance specifically, what are some products that you see out there that stand out for you that really help improving the maintenance processes and make our maintenance technicians' lives easier?
We use an inspection software. Our maintenance associates all have iPad. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I think that, and that's an adjustment. That's a learning curve for a lot of people, a lot of maintenance associates. And sometimes like, hey, I just don't want to carry that with me, or it's just something else that I need to do. Trying to change that mindset to really show the why on how valuable that is. And I started at a time when we had paper inspection documents. We went through and you had a different paper doc for every unit that you went into. And you did them, and then you filed them away somewhere and you never looked at them again. One of the things that we've rolled out is that inspection software is so helpful. You can document things right then and there. They're stored in the cloud. You can always go back and refer to them. You can really track completion and compliance across a large portfolio rather easily. So that is, I think there's a number of different inspection platforms out there and mobile maintenance devices that maintenance teams use. But I think that is one that we've done and that I'm very passionate about. And I think it's extremely valuable. I know there's a lot of people who still haven't gone down that road yet, but that is very important. There's a lot yet to come in terms of AI, and I think what that will mean for maintenance. I'm kind of excited about it. One thing that I've always been very interested in is the virtual reality maintenance training, which I think is very cool. We didn't do it, and we haven't done it, but I think it's a very interesting way to learn. And people today play video games and are doing that thing and gamifying. I think that's an interesting way to learn maintenance. So I think there's a lot of cool things out there. I approach prop tech though very cautiously. So when I was new into the business, I was like, this is, I would go to these trade shows and learn about all the different new features that are out there, and I'd come back with a list of things. We need to do this, we need to do this, and we've seen this whole industry created within our industry, right? So what's the new product? What's the latest and greatest? And I come to realize like what's involved in successfully rolling out a new piece of prop tech is very, very. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of resources, with training. Training the use of the technology and implementing it, and how does it work with our existing platforms and all of those things. And by the time you might get it implemented, there's something new, right? So I approach it very cautiously, and at the end of the day, I mean, we really go slow with how we implement new technology. We do very rigorous beta tests. We really look at it. Is it going to work? We don't want to roll something out and say, oh, never mind, we're going to scrap it. We want to be very, very sure on what we roll out. And you know, in today's day and age, like, those products change so quickly. So by the time that we actually would go through our process, there's probably something new. So I'm grateful for our team. You know, we have our vice president of operations really was instrumental in how we kind of pump the brakes on this stuff, because it was getting out of control. We have to try this. We have to try this. You know, to truly execute on what we're trying to do is rent, lease apartments, and maintain apartments. You got to be focused on that, not just trying to roll out the new technology or new initiative. I approach PropTech very cautiously. I think there's some really cool products. I definitely think you have to be open to innovation. I think maintenance associates need to be open to adopting technology. So there's a lot of people, you know, in the industry that I've come across who are reluctant to. They don't want to check their email, or they don't want to log onto their computer. They say, hey, I'm here. The work orders in the office, and I go out and do my job. We live in a day and age. They say those things, or they do those things while they still have a smartphone. So I know they know how to operate technology. You have to be open to technology and innovation. We're going to be left behind. And if you want to grow in this industry, you have to adopt. So I think there's a time and a place for technology. I am just not the guy who's at the trade show every year looking for the latest and greatest.
Mike, amazing conversation. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day today to be here with us. I'd like to get some final thoughts from you.
We talk about these things. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. You know, I've listened to a couple other guests. Whether people want to admit it or not, we're all in the same business. We're all fighting the same battles. We're all trying to solve the same problem. And I think I approach it like I approach collaboration and honesty. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know more than anybody else, or our company does it better than anybody else. I think, you know, just as I've shared here, I think we all have a lot to learn, continue to learn. I think the more open we are, the more willing we are to collaborate, the better. And I think there's a lot of people who are saying, oh, our company is proprietary. Like, we don't share, we don't talk about it because we don't want to let the secret out. I think that what you're doing in this platform, where people can talk and share ideas and collaborate and get to know one another and talk about and promote our industry, is all good. So, I mean, I think I appreciate you spending time here. And I think the more we do this, the better. Some of the best and most impactful meetings I've had is with other peers of mine at other companies. Just meeting, saying, hey, being honest, we're fighting the same battles. How are you doing it? And, you know, just simple takeaways that help us. And, you know, I think the more people that are open to talk and share those ideas and participate in these types of things, the better, not only for their organization, but for our industry as a whole. Thank you.
I appreciate your kind words, Mike. How can our audience get a hold of you if they want to get in touch with you?
You know, search me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I mean, you email me. I'm happy to share contact information. You know, whoever watches this, or, you know, I'd love if people reached out, because I reference the conversations I had early in my career. Like, I still have those today. Those are important. So if there's a maintenance guy out there, there's someone, whoever, I'm happy to share my contact information with you if you want to share it in a post or however, share it and people can contact me, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever. I encourage people to do that, because I think I got lots of stories to share, and, you know, I can provide whatever guidance I can, and I'm interested to hear what others have.
Joseph, your first podcast as a co-host. What are your thoughts?
Great conversation, and I appreciate the authenticity. When you talked about new technologies and evaluating them, it spoke to my heart when you said you have to evaluate the full scope of what's required, and a lot of partners in our industry, they forget to talk about those hidden costs, like the time and labor to get your team members to adopt it. So that really resonated with me. Everyone listening, Mike said you could reach out to him. So a wealth of knowledge, and don't miss out on that opportunity, guys.
Thank you both for being here today. I appreciate it. Was an amazing conversation. For those of you out there that are watching us today, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking an hour out of your busy day. I'm Adrian Danila, your host. This is Multifamily X podcast, Masters of Maintenance. This is a podcast powered by our friends from Appwork. We hope to see you back here soon. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Evan.